Hello, and sorry about that. I was just trying to get the camera angle correct because this is quite a tricky little operation. And I've got to turn the volume up for my computer as well. I'm getting feedback. Right, there we go. There's a few little slight technical hitches to start off. But welcome everybody. We've got 984 Francis from Carolina and Owen Whittle from England and okay, right, so we're going to enjoy this theory session together. Basically, what we're going to do is go through a grade 5 theory paper. It's the sample paper, and there is a description in the description below. There's access to this theory paper if you want to try it out for yourself. But what I'm expecting from you guys is some interaction so that we can all benefit together. Okay, hopefully you can all see the questions clearly, and then you can participate. So the first question up here is saying the following extract, which begins on the first beat of the bar, contains some changes of time signature, and you need to put in the correct time signature at each of the 3 places marked with an asterisk. So first of all, can you just let me know that you can see clearly the sheet that you've got in front of you? All right, just a little bit of thumbs up in the chat or something that all the questions are clear to see. Okay, you can see it clearly, Owen, that's good, right. So now this is up to you. We're going to do this paper together. It's not just going to be me telling you all the answers. Okay, so can you tell me what the time signature should be by this first asterisk here? If you count up the beats that you've got in this first bar, it should give you your answer. And we're waiting for okay, so Annalie and Valerie and Owen are all going for 7/8. Let's see if they're correct. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quavers there, including the rests, and then 6 and 7 would be the crotchet, 7 quavers. So that is correct. It is 7/8 time. So we'll put that answer in there. 7/8 time. Make sure you write neatly, okay? The top number should go in the first 2 spaces and the bottom number in the bottom 2 spaces. Okay, now what about in the second bar by this asterisk here? What time signature would we need in this question? Okay, this is George is going for 3/8 time. Right, so we have 4 demi-semiquavers, or if you have a different way of approaching this, what do we call those? 30-second notes or something, don't they, in the other side of the pond? But this is Music Online UK, so we're going to be using English words for these demi, semi, and hemi-demi semiquavers and all the rest of it. Anyway, okay, so 4 of those demi semiquavers, which is worth 2 semiquavers, which is worth 1 quaver, plus the other 2 quavers that make that crotchet. So who was the first one there? Okay, this is George, who's the first one to say 3/8, and you are all correct. It seems like some of you have been preparing this in advance because I did give you notice in the community page, and those of you who have downloaded the paper and tried it for yourselves would be getting the correct answers hopefully already. Now the question here, YTSAS is asking, does ABRSM prefer 30-second notes or demi-semiquavers? Absolutely no difference. You can say how you like it, okay? I think in the sample answers that they sometimes give and in their ABRSM practice books, they use both, all right? So that is fine to say how you want. Now, Deslin, are you answering the next one? Because if you're going over faster than me, right, we are on the third question. So if you could just confirm it's the third bar, this question, you've got 5/8 in the chat written there, Deslin and Valerie. Are you talking about the third bar? Let's count it up. So we have 2 semiquavers, so there's 1 quaver there. Then there's another quaver rest there. Then 3 triplet semiquavers. Now a triplet is 3 in the space of 2, so that'll be worth 2 semiquavers. All right, normal semiquavers. So there's another quaver there, and then another one there, and another one there, making a total of 5. Okay, right, so that is going to be 5/8 time. All right, be careful of the triplet. That makes 3 in the space of 2. Okay, so for that we have a full 6 marks. And by the end of this paper, together, we are going to achieve 100%. All right, so those of you who are taking a theory exam, I think they're on the 6th of March. That's in 3 days' time. This is a nice little confidence boost for you. Okay, now let's make sure you can see the next question. Yeah, it looks like it. Look at the following extract and then answer the questions below. All right, it says, draw a circle around 3 successive notes that form part of a chromatic scale. That's this question here. Okay, 3 successive notes that form a part of a chromatic scale. Now, this might be a little tricky for you to tell me where you can see them, but if we say the bar number and then, okay, we have a left-hand part and then there are basically 2 right-hand parts, aren't there? Okay. So the end of bar 2, this is Owen, end of bar 2 into bar 3, the bottom voice. Okay, so you have here E flat and D. That would be a semitone, but then onto the C would be a tone. So that wouldn't be a chromatic scale there, okay? All right, now YTSAS is saying the first bar, second group of 3 notes. First bar. Again, it's exactly the same notes that Owen mentioned, E flat, D and C, but the last step there is a whole tone, not a semitone, so that doesn't make a chromatic scale. Okay. Right, bottom voice right hand. Okay. B flat, B and C. Now that looks good to me. Here. Ah, Owen, you were saying end of second bar into bar 3, bottom voice of the right hand. Correct. So these 3 here. All right, that would make a chromatic scale. B flat, B natural and C. It's a B flat because of the key signature. Okay. Right, and welcome Elizabeth Chan. All right, this is grade 5, by the way. All right. So a lot of overlap will be in grade 4, but there'll be a few questions that might be slightly advanced in this. So that's that question done, 2 marks. Okay, then describe the chords marked at A and B, that's here and here, okay, as 1, 2, 4 and 5, and also indicate whether the lowest note of the chord is in root, 3rd or 5th. Okay, and the key is G minor. Now at this point, okay, Owen's going to go for 4A and 2B, all right? Okay, I would suggest though that you get a bit of spare paper, but I'm going to do it here so you can see it. So I'm just going to move the sheet up a little bit so you've got full view. I suggest that you write out in the exam on the spare paper that they will give you your primary triads. The primary triads being these 4 chords here. So chord 1 in G minor is G, B flat and D. That's chord 1. Then chord 2 is A, C and E flat, excuse me. And then chord 4, you don't need 3, chord 4, so in the key of G minor, the 4th note is C, E flat and G. And chord 5 would be D, probably an F sharp because you raise the 7th, and A. Now, then we look at what we have. This G is carrying on. Remember there is a dotted crotchet there, so that G goes all the way through to that point there. So that's part of the chord. So you have G, C and E flat. C, E flat and G is chord 4. So that's chord 4. Now, what position is it in? Okay, because the C is at the bottom, this is in position A, this is in position B, and this is in position C. All right, it's 4A. Then, if we move on over to chord B, we have D, G, and B flat. So can we find that in this list here? All right, there's G, B flat, and D, so that's chord 1. but there is a D at the bottom, so that's chord 1, C. Okay, now what did Owen say earlier? 4A and 2B. Well, 4A was correct. And 1C, who's got the answer there? Owen. All right, 1C, you corrected yourself. So that is that question done there. And we have 2 more marks there and 2 more marks there. So to get a full 15 on this page, we need to rewrite the last left-hand note of the extract. So that is this note here. It's a G below middle C. Now you need to get the right octave. All right. Some people will write a G in the alto clef as it asks for here, but they'll write the wrong G. They might write it an octave higher or an octave lower. So this is the one below middle C, which is where your knowledge of alto clef comes in. So let's put the alto clef, just like a big 3 there and 2 lines. That's good enough. And it says don't forget the key signature and the clef, of course, which we've done already. Now, key signature of B flat and E flat in alto clef is like that. And then you need to write the G below middle C. Now, middle C in alto clef is this middle line. There's middle C. All right. So the G below it, C, B, A, G is there. And because it's a quaver in the original, let's make it a quaver in the answer. All right. Any questions about that? It doesn't ask you for the time signature. That's a good question, George. If you want to just hedge your bets, you could always put the time signature in. You won't lose marks for it. But I can't see they would take marks off for not putting the time signature because they didn't actually ask it. They asks for the clef and the key signature. It's not at the beginning of the line, is it? This G is right at the end of the line, so maybe it's not so important. But, you know, it's always worth hedging your bets, so you could put it in anyway. And there we have 3 marks, giving us a total up the top. Oh, you can't see it. Let's just move the sheet down a little bit to 15 marks. Oops, a little bit further. See, I have to keep checking the computer what you can see. And also, there is a slight delay on the internet, so I see everything that I've done about 2 or 3 seconds later. Anyway, that's page 1 done. Now, page 2. Describe, or question 2, describe fully, e.g. minor third, perfect fifth, etc., each of these melodic intervals. Okay, anyone want to give me a suggestion for this first one here? D to G sharp. Okay, now as someone is already, okay, I'm just going through the comments here because I don't want to rush anyone too fast. Okay, my piano favourites, A equals C minor root position, 5-3, B minor second inversion, yeah. Right, now Valerie, there's a good question there. After how much time do you advise to finish the paper so as to revise? This paper is actually 2 hours and we are going to finish it together in probably an hour or less, all right? Which gives you a whole hour to just read over. One of the things I have found that people tend to do is that they think they have read the question and then because it's in their mind, they know what the question is, when they reread it as it's in their head and not necessarily when it's on the paper. For example, you know, don't forget to add the key signature. And you just skim through the question, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've done that. But you need to make sure you've read every word of the question. Okay? So when you've got your paper finished, reread it, making sure you read every word and understanding that you've read it, not just skim through. Anyway, we've got a few answers. An augmented fourth. That is correct. Okay. Now, let's go through why for anyone who's might be a little bit confused. Augmented fourth. Okay. From D to G, D, E, F, G is a fourth. Fourths generally are perfect, as are fifths and octaves. Okay. So if we increase a fourth by a semitone, it becomes augmented. Okay. Right, now The second one over here, from G, we're in bass clef, you can see there, up to B. Okay. A major third, someone is saying, and the first person there is Deslin. Okay, right, major third. Let's write that in for you. Why is it a major third? Okay, major intervals occur in the major scale of the bottom note. The bottom note is G, so we think of the major scale of G. G, A, B. It's the third note of G major, so it's a major third. Now that's quite simple. All right, now we're going to go on to the third one, a little bit trickier there. You probably do not know the scale of G sharp major, and off the top of my head I don't think I could tell you straight away, but you can, if you like, think of a different scale and then just make it slightly smaller. Right, now we're getting major seventh and diminished seventh. Let's have a little look. I'm not going to do from G sharp to F sharp. Remember, it's an F sharp. All right, I'm going to go from G to F sharp because we know the scale of G major. So G to F sharp. F sharp is the seventh note of G major. All right, so therefore G to F sharp is a major seventh. However, sorry, I'm going slightly higher than you can see. I'll pull the paper down. Can you see that again? I do apologize. I have to keep checking the screen on my computer to see what you're seeing. Right, now, this is a G sharp, so we've made it smaller. G sharp to F sharp is one semitone less. And if we make a major seventh a semitone less, then it becomes, hang on a second, that is not an F sharp, is it? I'm just still thinking of this old key signature. You see what I mean about checking the question? Right, there is no F sharp here. This is just plain F. So that's not a major seventh. That is a minor seventh. Okay. G to F sharp is a major seventh. That is correct. But G to F natural is a semitone less, which makes it a minor seventh. Let's get rid of that sharp sign there. And if we make the bottom note smaller again, when a minor interval becomes smaller, it is a diminished seventh. So we're going to put in there, diminished seventh. Okay. All right. Now, someone was a bit lost. Let's just go over that again, all right? Because I also made a little assumption. You could call it a mistake, yeah. Sometimes we make mistakes when we make assumptions. I was thinking F sharp for the top because it's still in my head was this F sharp key signature here. But don't assume that, all right? There is no F sharp there. That's just a normal F. So I'm going to go for the scale of G major because I don't know the scale of G sharp major. In G major, the seventh note is F sharp. So G to F sharp is a major seventh. Are we all okay up to there? All right. Then, because that is not an F sharp, it's an F natural, that is one smaller. So then we go to G to F natural, one smaller than major, is a minor seventh. Then we're going to go one smaller again because the bottom note is a semitone higher. And when minor gets a semitone smaller, it becomes a diminished seventh. Okay? Right, now some of you are jumping ahead a little bit. Let's stick to the question we're on. I'm seeing here people are putting in perfect twelfths and compound perfect fifths. Okay, so first of all, let's learn our lesson. Look at the key signature. All right, so we've got F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. But that actually does not affect the notes that we've got on the page. It's just simple D to A. Okay, now someone has said a perfect 12th and someone has said a compound perfect fifth. There are two ways of describing this. I prefer the second way, the compound perfect fifth that Deslin mentioned there, okay? Because it's just easier to think of, all right? You could count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all right, and count up the numbers like that until you get to 12. But hopefully you might know in your head D to A is 5 notes, D, E, F, G, a fifth. And then if it's more than an octave, we just call it a compound fifth. Right, now, perfect was mentioned as well. It would be perfect if A is in this major scale of the bottom note, D. All right, and in D major, the fifth note is A. So it is, so I didn't leave myself enough space, a compound perfect fifth. So you're both correct, and you can answer it the way you want to answer it. Annalie said a perfect 12th. Now, you could say an octave plus a fifth is a 12th. And there's a bit of funny maths for you. 8 plus 5 equals 12. Normally it makes 13, doesn't it? But if you're going to do it that way, remember that when you get to the octave note, so you've got D to D, and then you've got D to A, there's your 8, there's your 5, but this note you've counted twice, so you have to take 1 off the 13. All right, 8 plus 5 is 13, but then you take 1 away because you've counted the D twice. Okay, all right, and Owen is jumping in with the next one with a minor sixth. Okay, again, we're going to check our key signature. So we have D to B flat, right? D to B flat. Right, let's think of the major scale. I know this isn't D major, this key signature, but let's think of the major scale of the bottom note. In D major, the sixth note, there is a sixth, the sixth note is a B, but because it's a B flat, it's one semitone smaller, which makes it a minor sixth. All right, one semitone less. From a major becomes a minor. So we almost didn't get full marks there, but okay, welcome Diva N. All right, beginner guitar student, but there we go. And someone else is getting perfect marks. Some of you may have actually tried this paper already before this live stream because I gave you notice on the community tab, okay? But we have 10 points again, so we're doing well. Now, the following melody, we're on question 3 now. And this is going to be a little bit trickier to do interactively on the live stream, but you can still help out, all right? It's written for clarinet in B flat, so transpose it down a major second as it will sound at concert pitch. Remember to put in the new key signature and add any necessary accidentals. Okay, first of all, I would do the key signature. Okay. Now, what is the key signature we've got here? It doesn't matter if you call it the major or the relative minor, it's going to work the same, all right? So what is the key signature with 1 sharp? And then make that key a major second, or a whole tone if you like, lower. Okay, good. We have Owen gone from G major to F major. So our new key signature will be... Anyone coming in here with the correct answer? I'm waiting for your answers. We're doing this together, not just me. It's F major, but what is the key signature? What is the sharp or flat that we need to write for F major? You are correct, Deslin. Can you give me the actual accidental that we need? B flat, thank you. Right. And that came from Deslin first. Okay. It's a competition to get in first, isn't it? Right. Now next, I'm not going to think too much about all these complicated accidentals. All right. All I'm going to do, right, first of all, put in the time signature. Don't forget that. I'm just going to write everything here 1 step lower and forget about the accidentals, although I'll leave a little bit of space for them. All right, so F becomes E. And then we have 4 steps going up. F, G, A, B. Okay. A little trick now. I'm going to show you a good way and a bad way. In fact, I'm going to do it at the bottom of the page, right? If you've got to beam together notes, some people do this, and they're going up in steps, and then they try and beam the tops together, and they end up with a crooked beam like that. All right? The way I always recommend you do it is just draw the stem of the first and the last note. Then put the beam across, and then the others can meet it. And then you've got a nice straight beam. Okay, little trick for you. Right, then I've got a bar line, and then making sure you can all see the screen carefully. Right, just writing everything one step higher than it is on the original. Hang on, lower. I've just, you would be using a pencil. Confuse myself by not paying attention and going off track. So we have the D becoming a C. So forget those two, and this dum 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 C. Right. I do apologise. I should not digress and concentrate what I'm doing. But then you won't be talking to anyone in the exam, will you? Hopefully. Okay. I'll slur around those few. Also put the slur marks in when you're doing these copying. Right, a step down, not up. That's a quaver, and a step down from A is G. Okay, then moving over, we've got A, G, F, F, so it's going to be G, F, E. I'm doing what I said not to do. I'm drawing all the stems in first. Okay, and then we're going down to D, F, E, G, leaving a little bit of space. You've got some staccato on those, put those in as well. Put the beam in, and then the other stems come to meet it. I'm going to put my bar line there, and then just carry on the next line to make it not too squashed. Remember, if you do use the second line, to put in your key signature again. Don't need the time signature twice, but the key signature you do. And then last bar, just a step lower than everything in the original, and a D at the top. Tied to another quaver D with a decrescendo. And if you want to write etc., you can. Okay, now the accidentals. For most of the notes, let's put that slur in, you don't need to worry about the accidentals. This is the very easy part, all right? Whatever happened to the original, you have to do to your transposed version. Okay? Now, yes, good point, Michael. Use a pencil so you can rub it out. So you get marks deducted for being messy. That is correct, and in an exam I would be using a pencil. But I use a pen because actually on the live stream and the video it'll be a little bit clearer for you to see. Hopefully, okay, we might have lost one mark there in the exam by that little bit of scribble. Okay, now every time you get an accidental in the original, you will need an accidental in your transposed version. And all you've got to do is ask yourself, what happened to that note? This one went up by a semitone. So yours will need to go up by a semitone. Now notice that this is a B flat from the key signature. So to raise it by a semitone, we don't put a sharp, we put a natural. Make it a little bit taller there. All right? The same thing here. That is the same note, so that's also a B natural. Okay? But then we've gone back to the original, so we're going to make that natural a semitone lower again, and so in ours we'll put a flat. You get that? Got a slur marking here. Sometimes the slurs will go on different sides, by the way. Okay, now in this one, the second note here has been lowered by a semitone. See, yours will need to be lowered by a semitone. So that A there becomes a flat. All the other notes that are not marked, like this one and this one, don't worry about them. They will be correct without doing anything, okay? Right, an A flat has been lowered, so you'll want a G flat. This F natural has been lowered from the key signature F sharp, so you'll need to lower yours. Now, not an E natural because it was already E natural, but if you lower it, it becomes an E flat. Okay. Then we're moving on. These two you don't have to worry about because nothing happened to them there. But this F sharp, right, because of that natural there, this has been raised again. And because of your flat, you'll need to raise your E back to an E natural here. Okay? And then the last one, that is also on account of this earlier flat. Right now, because that was G flat earlier, to make it back to normal, we'll need a G natural. And then the final bar, you don't have to do anything. Okay? So, now, how did you all do? Because that wasn't so easy to do interactively. I could have asked you every single note. But for those of you who did the paper before, would anyone like to tell me if they got most of that correct, or if there are any things on that particular question that was a bit tricky for them? 9 out of 10. Okay, pretty good, Owen. Where was your mistake, Owen? If you could actually sort of let us know, and maybe it'll be helpful for others not to make a similar mistake. Because this is only for practice. It's not to see who's the best or anything like that. Okay. All correct for Deslin. Okay. George, you can't see. And Anna Lee, you had one wrong. Where would they be? Right, Owen, the first note I put E flat rather than no accidentals. So, the very first note here. Yeah. Because this is an F sharp, yeah? If you want to think of a major second below F sharp, it is just a normal E. But just follow this rule, okay? If there is no accidental in the original, and you have to write a new key signature, that new key signature will take care of any changes apart from notes that have been changed on the way. So like this A flat, this F sharp, etc. All right, then Annalie, third bar where the E was lowered, I didn't return to natural. Third bar where the E was lowered. You mean in the second one? Yeah, and you didn't go back to the natural at the end. Okay, because of that F sharp there. All right, so again, if you use my little rule here, oh, someone's saying I missed a dynamic sign from the beginning. Thank you, Jester. Okay, good spot there. All right, so we're doing this together, and collectively, if we don't count the pen, another 10 marks. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, if you use my little rule, only change the notes that are changed in the original. Now, okay, Deslin, what if they told us not to use a key signature but just add any necessary accidentals? And that's a very good question because there are two types. All right, now this question might be exactly the same, but they might not have written this. They might not have said, remember to put in a new key signature. They might just say, do not use a key signature, but add any necessary accidentals. In that case, you wouldn't write B flat, but in your head, you would still think of a key signature of B flat. In which case, any time you got to the note B, you would have to write B flat. Now, in this case, you wouldn't do anything there because that natural sign wouldn't be needed because there is no key signature, but you would need that B flat. All right? Does that help you, Deslin? Okay? All right. So basically, you think of a key signature even though you don't write it. And then mentally, anytime you get to any notes affected by that key signature, you change them on your transposed part. Okay, right. Now let's move on to question 4. Okay, try and keep everything in view of the screen there and move it down a little bit. Okay, I'm just making sure because I've got this 2-second delay that you can see the whole question. Right, just a tiny bit more maybe. Right, mark clearly on the music using an appropriate capital letter for identification. One example of each of the following. Also give the bar number of each of your answers as shown to the answer A. Now their example is, in the bassoon part, a subdominant note in the key of C major. Subdominant is the fourth of the scale, so it's the note F. And you can see there, remember we are in bass clef for bassoon, there is the note F, and that is circled, and they've written a capital A. So that's how you have to do the other parts. So let's do B. And maybe you could be a little bit more interactive with this. Okay. In the bassoon part, a melodic interval of a diminished fifth. Right, now I'm going to wait for you to give the answers here. Can anyone tell me what bar number, and maybe, you know, second, third, fourth note or something, you can see a diminished fifth in the bassoon part? Right, now you're saying, George, you were completely lost with this one. I'm assuming you're talking about question 4, hopefully, because of the delay on the internet. Let's look for all the fifths. A fifth is easy to spot because it always goes like 2/3, all right? Like you get, let's see. There's a fifth here, all right? Because those two notes there, you go down, one line is a third and then another line is a fifth. So there's a fifth. I'm not saying it's that one. There's a fifth. That's a fourth. Look for the big jumps. There's a fifth. There aren't too many options. And don't think there are any more. Okay. Right, bar 6. Now, why is this one a diminished fifth and not a perfect fifth? Remember that a perfect fifth, the fifth note would be in the scale, the major scale of the bottom note. The bottom note here is a B. It's not a B flat, and the fifth note of B major is F sharp. But that's not an F sharp, that's a normal F. It's a semitone smaller. So that is why, as Deslin said, it's in bar 6. And we're supposed to write 6 there, and we're supposed to write a big capital B there. Okay? And actually, yeah, now Owen has said the second and third note, so you could equally say those two. It's exactly the same notes backwards. All right? Going up or down. So you're both correct. Now, part C here, it says in the bassoon part again, a sign that means to give slight emphasis to a note. And there are quite a few options for this answer. Slight emphasis. Part C. Bar 4, the first note, George. Yes, this little line across the top here is called a tenuto line. And literally it means to hold the note longer, but usually in practice, it's usually associated with a little bit of a slight pressure as well. Yeah, so that's the one we want there. Okay, that's the note, and we're going to put letter C there and write bar 4 there. There are actually a few more options. Okay, there's one there in bar 7, a little line under that A, and again in bar 8. So there are quite a few options for that. Any of those notes that have got a little tenuto line would be correct. So in the piano part, we're on part D now. A chord of C minor in first inversion. Right, now C minor is C, E flat, and G. But in first inversion, you need the E flat in the bass. So the quickest way of finding that is looking for any E flats in the piano part left hand, in the bass. Right, George is going for bar 3. Yep, 1, 2, 3. There's an E flat in the bass, and the top notes are C and G, C and G. So there is your chord of C minor in first inversion. So we're going to put a nice big circle around that. We're going to write bar 3 there, and we're going to write a letter D there. Don't forget to put in those capital letters. Some people forget to write them in, and they possibly could lose marks. Now, part 2, I don't advise that you do this, but you could do this question without even looking, because the answer to this question from every paper that I have seen up until now is exactly the same. All right. The similarity is always the rhythm is the same, and the difference is that it's at a different pitch. So let's check. All right. We've got one similarity and one difference in the bassoon part between bars 5 and 6. Right, there's bars 5 and there's bar 6. I've scribbled all over it, it's hard to see it now. But if you can see through my scribble, you can see that the rhythm is the same. So you just write same rhythm. And pretty much, I'm 100% sure about this, every paper that I've seen, and I've seen a few, the rhythm is always the same for this question. All right? Desmond's asking something here. E flat G C is counted as first inversion, not second inversion. All right, it's about the bass note. The top two notes can be in any order. So if you have G and C or C and G on the top, it doesn't matter. The inversion is worked out by what is in the bass note. Okay. Now, this is a sequence, we call this, where the notes are played higher or lower in pitch than the original. And a different pitch. But if you want to, you could say the dynamics are different. That is also true. Okay. All right. Now, we have again full marks on that page. So collectively, we are scoring 100% on this paper. By the way, anyone watching this now and who's doing their grade 5 in the near future, I want you to come back onto this video in the future and put down what mark you got in your real exam. Okay? Is that a deal? All right. If you put it in the chat now, yeah, I want you to say, hang on, we're rushing ahead, Jester. We'll come into those questions in a minute. All right. Does anyone want to commit themselves at this moment to saying they will come back to this video and write down their mark that they got in their exam? I'm looking for some commitment from some of you, because I want to see how much. Yeah, Isabel's doing it next term, but no one's actually committing. All right, I'll leave that to you now. Maybe you could put it in the comments later. Right, now, hang on a minute. Now this is the tricky bit on the live stream. I'm going to try and keep these pages together so you can see both questions, all right? It says rewrite the last bassoon note of the extract so that it sounds at the same pitch, but using the tenor C clef, all right? And remember to put in the clef sign. Now, let's just move this page down. Sorry, you are unsighted of the actual question. No, a little bit further. Can you see that now? There we are. Right, you can see the question. All right, so a tenor clef is like an alto clef, but it's one space higher. So you do the 2 bars again, and then the 3 sign, which sticks out the top of the stave. Okay, and then it wants the last bassoon note of the extract, which in this case is an E below middle C. E below middle C. So there's middle C again. It's at the middle of that 3-shaped sort of figure. All right, there's middle C. So C, B, A, G, F, E. Down there. All right, or if you like, it's a 6th below, if you can see 6 clearly on the stave without counting lines and spaces. And you want a crotchet. And so that Jester is happy, we'll better put our dynamic in, mezzo forte. And it comes off a little slur with an etc. Although I don't think those are worth any marks extra or lost, possibly. They're looking for a nice tenor clef and the notes on the right line or space. Okay? So that's that question. Now, this tick box thing refers to things mentioned in the actual extract at the beginning, but we don't need to look at the extract to know what these mean. Okay, can anyone give me which box does alla marcia mean? Alla marcia, is a hard C, I think, in Italian. Majestic, broadening, in the style of a march or in the same way. Which option is alla marcia? In the style of the march, George, you are correct. So we'll put a little tick on there. All right, and crotchet equals 100. Does it mean 100 crotchet beats, 100 crotchet beats in a minute, 100 crotchet notes, or 100 crotchets in the melody? Yep, you're all correct. Unfortunately, George got there first. 100 crotchet beats in a minute. Siska is there in there first, and that is correct. So I've got full marks on that. Now, here we go. Rewrite the bassoon part of bar 4 in compound time, but without changing the rhythmic effect. Remember to put in the new time signature. So this time we do need to go back to the original. Right, we need the bassoon part of bar 4. I'm just trying to see how I can best do this so you can see it. If I put the sheet down here at the bottom, you can probably see the bassoon part of bar 4, this one here. Right, so we've got B, A, B, A, and G. Now basically you could copy what's there to start with, but we need to change a few things later. Do the first and the last stem, then join the beams together, and a tail for the minim. Now, the original time signature is 4/4 time, okay? So, what is the new time signature? I think Annalie's already in there. It's a new time signature of 12/8 time, okay? Because 12/8 time is 4 dotted crotchets in a minute, in a bar, sorry, not in a minute, and 4/4 is 4 normal crotchets in a bar. So that is correct, 12/8 time. If you go from simple to compound, crotchets become dotted crotchets, all right? Similarly, triplet quavers in simple time, all right, become just normal groups of 3 quavers, but you don't need the triplet sign. That is not needed. You just write normal quavers. So all we need to do here is stick a dot on crotchet beats, lose the little triplet sign that you've got under those 3 quavers there. Let's put in the articulation marks to not risk anything. And also, okay, in the same way that a crotchet becomes a dotted crotchet, a minim becomes a dotted minim. And if you add that all up, it should come up to 12/8 time. 3, 6, and then another 6 quavers, 12/8 time. All right, are we happy with that one? Okay, now let's move on. All right, write as a breve a double whole note, an enharmonic equivalent of the first bassoon note of the extract. So let's move these sheets up so you can see everything. All right, the first bassoon note of the extract is this one here. So, first of all, we need to write the E, but let's not make it a crotchet. And also we need to make it an enharmonic equivalent. So can anyone give me, yeah, an F flat? That is one option. All right, got to put a flat sign there and then an F there. And it asks for, what is it? A breve, a double whole note. So it's basically like a semi-breve with a couple of bars either side of it like that. All right. Are there any other options apart from F flats if you're going to be really clever? A D double sharp. Now a D double sharp would be an E, yeah? So we could have the 2 lines, and then a cross sign is double sharp, isn't it? Not a sharp sign, an X, like double sharp sign. Excuse me, I've made a mess again. This is where I should have used a pencil. All right, double sharp is just like an X and then the note. Okay. Right, let's move on. I don't think we need the original now. All right, Jasper, I think, was hinting at this question earlier. So, true or false? First one's in. The bassoon is a double reed instrument. Please don't jump into questions before they've been asked. Is that true or false? It's true. Okay, thank you, Siska. Okay, now, the bassoon is a transposing instrument. Okay, now this is where the delay in the internet could get a bit confusing. All right, Annalie, you're saying true. I'm thinking you're still on the old question. Right, George is saying false. So in the future, if you're answering these questions, could you write like 1, 2, and 3 in front of your answers? Okay. Right, so George and Siska, I'm assuming you're going for the second question. Now, preface your next answer with a 3, right? Right, 3 and then true, or 3 and then false. A bassoonist might be asked to play pizzicato. Yep, thank you, George. You put the 3 in front, so you get the mark there. It is false. The only instruments that can play pizzicato are stringed instruments. Correct. All right, and then you can still see the bottom question there on the screen. The bassoon is a member of the woodwind family of orchestral instruments. Name a standard orchestral instrument from a different family that could play the bassoon part of the extract so that it sounds at the same pitch. And then state the family of instruments to which it belongs. Okay, now if you notice the bassoon part on here is written in the bass clef. It generally plays notes around and then below middle C. All right, the lowest we've been is an A, an octave and a bit below middle C, and the highest is just above middle C. So you've got to think of an instrument that could play in that range. Okay, and Annalie is going for cello with strings. All right, now there are various answers. That is actually correct. The string family. Technically, you should have a little apostrophe in front of cello, by the way, because cello is an abbreviation for violoncello, but I'm sure they wouldn't take a mark off for leaving out an apostrophe. Any other instruments from a different family? Just to fill out your orchestral vocabulary a little bit further. What is the other family we haven't mentioned? There's woodwind, there's strings, and then there is the other family that produces notes of definite pitch generally. And what instrument could play those notes? Trombone from the brass section. Yeah, that's true. And to be honest, it wouldn't be too low for a horn either. Okay, but trombone is probably the more natural one because it's written in bass clef very often. Right, Jester, you're saying confused. If you'd like to tell me why, and maybe we could help on what the confusion is. I'll just open up the next page. Tuba, yeah. It's getting a little bit high for tuba. Tuba is pretty big bass notes, you're right down the bottom. Okay. Now, my piano favourites. I'm just reading your comments out here. The choice of the compound conversion is the choice of the composer to choose the note value as minims, crotchets, semiquavers, etc. Okay, yeah. All right, let's move on to question 5. Are you okay, Jester, with the confusion that you mentioned earlier? All right, let's move the sheet down as well a little bit further so you can actually see the question. Yeah. Right, now we need to write a key signature of 5 sharps. Okay, so let's do that first. You must get the order correct. So F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and then A sharp. All right. Now, it says 1 octave descending of the major scale with that key signature. So what is the major scale with 5 sharps? Can anyone? B major, right, and it says descending. This is an example of where people don't read the question sometimes, and they might just start on a B, go up to another B and think, oh, I did that question. Read every word carefully. All right, and it does say also use semibreves, another thing that some people might miss. They think, I know what I'm doing, and just write crotchets or something. Oh, thank you very much, my piano favourites, for donating. That is really appreciated. So we write every step down from a B as neatly as you can in semibreves. And make sure you finish on a B. All right, a nice little check. You should have written 8 notes going from B to B. Otherwise, you might have doubled a note or you might have missed a line or a space. So that's always a good check. Just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you've got 9, something's gone wrong. Or if you've got 7, something's gone wrong. First note, last note should be the tonic and 8 notes in total. All right. Okay, then the next part. Using semibreves, that is whole notes, write 1 octave ascending of the melodic minor scale that has the given key signature. Okay. Just as saying they're too close together. You mean horizontally too close together? I'm sure that would be fine in an exam. But possibly on the screen, vertically, things are a little bit smaller for you, so they might look a little bit closer there. Right, now, okay, we're going ahead on to the next question, all right? An octave ascending of the melodic minor that has the given key signature, and you are correct to say C minor, all right? C minor has 3 flats, just like E flat major. Probably the easiest way to start is on a middle C. Let's do it over here. I'll try and get rid of that shadow. Let me just put this lamp away from my arm. There we are. It's a bit clearer for you. And then I'm going to space them out for Jester a bit further, so he's got more space between the notes. And also you might want some accidentals in this one, so we're going to leave plenty of space between them. All right, that's about as much space as you could possibly put between them. Can I come back to my piano favourites at the end of this video, all right? And then we'll go on to that question, but I will just keep the momentum of this actual paper going at the moment, yeah? Right, now, we're doing a melodic minor. And in a melodic minor, ascending only, you need to raise the 6th and 7th note. Yeah, 6th and 7th notes. Right, now, in the key signature, the 6th note is an A flat, and the 7th note is a B flat. So we raise both of those to naturals. And there you have the answer to that question. All right, that's quite simple for you. Again, 10 marks collectively attained all together. All right, now we're nearly finished, I think. No, there are 2 more pages, but tick boxes for the next lot, so that should be quite quick. Right, let's just make sure everything's in view of the screen for you. All right, now, you don't really need to look at the extract. Sometimes they just waste your time. It says, look at this extract and then answer leggero means. You don't need to look at that to know what leggero means. And looking at that's not really going to help you know what leggero means. You either know it or you don't, but there's the question. So, does it mean light, graceful, loving, or smoothly? And Jester is going with light, and that is the correct answer. Okay, teneramente. Does it mean pleasant, tenderly, sad and mournful, or bold and strong? First one in with that one. Leggero is light. Yeah, Annalie, on the last question, we got a little bit of delay with the internet. But need to get a faster broadband. Tenderly, or type quicker. Tenderly is correct again, Jester. Okay. All right. Sorry, George, it's not sad. Okay. Teneramente is tenderly. Okay. No worries. And smorzando, smorzando. Often abbreviated to just smorz. You often see smorz. Okay. It's not calm. Dying away. That's correct, Jester. Dying away. Correct. And Annalie, you've got that one. Now, for those of you who want to go over your Italian terms and French and German terms for grade 5, I do have, first of all, a little free app on the Google Play on Android, which is basically just gives you multiple choice questions on terms just like these. And if you want to upgrade to the premium app, which is very similar, it gives you questions on all the topics, not just the Italian terms. Okay, so it would include key signatures and interval questions and all the rest of it. But that's all on all the details are in the description below. If you go to the website, music-online.org.uk, on the music theory section there, you'll find links to that app if you are interested in testing yourself with some multiple choice questions. Now, we're going on to part B, and Anna Lee is already ahead of us. You're going for supertonic for X. Okay, so what key are we in? It says we're in A major, and the supertonic in A major is a B, so let's have a little look. That is a G sharp there. So we should be going for a leading note, yeah, and I think the first person is Siska with that one. They've got supertonic, not supertonic, Annalie, you're confusing me. Leading note. Collectively, we'll get 100%, collectively. All right, and on Y, there is a C sharp in the key of A major. That is the third note, which is the mediant. All right, and the first one, again, well, Siska answered both of them together, so I'll have to give Siska the mark there. Mediant for that one. Okay, can you still see the sheets clearly? Let's move it up a little bit. Rewrite bar 3, that is here, in notes of twice the value. Remember to include the new time signature. Right, now, first of all, who's going to give me the new time signature? 3/4, and someone's suggesting 6/4. You've just doubled the number of beats, but you haven't doubled the value of the beat. You've still got crotchet beats. It's not 6/4. No, we're all getting 6/4s. 6/8, no, it's not a 6. Okay, let me just highlight something. Twice the value, not twice the number of beats. You're not doubling the number of beats, you're doubling the value of the beat. Okay, now the number of beats is going to stay the same. It's going to be a 3. But it's not going to be a crotchet beat anymore. You're doubling the value of the beat. So it's 3/2. Well done, Joey. And I think that's the first time I've seen you on the chat. So well done for your first answer. 3/2 time. That is tricky, and it's a very common mistake. Don't double the number of beats, double the value of the beat. Right, I'm going to come back to my piano favourites comment, all right? I want to finish this paper, and then we're going to really sort of go into what you were talking about, okay? All right. Now, are we all happy with that now? And then all you do is just write everything of double the value, okay? So we won't fill in all the notes at the moment. We'll just draw them as circles because they might not be filled in the original. This is bar 3. Right, so a quaver becomes a crotchet. A dotted quaver becomes a dotted crotchet. So we'll fill that one in, dotted crotchet. Then a semiquaver becomes a quaver. A crotchet becomes a minim, so a dotted crotchet becomes a dotted minim. And a quaver is going to become a crotchet, just doubling the value of everything. Okay, and to keep everybody happy, we'll put in all the details, the MP, the teneramente, tenderly, remember that one now, and a little tenuto mark on the first note, and also a sharp. Don't forget that extra sharp there. Right, I've got all the details there, all right? Yeah, because all this will add up to the same number of crotchets in 6/4 time, okay? How many marks will you lose? Probably just 1 mark. I wouldn't, for total of 4 marks, you've got all of these 4 notes to write and then just 1 time signature. So I would say probably you'd get 3 out of 4 for that. All right. Now, Owen's jumping ahead again. Patience, Owen. Hold the horses, okay? Give the letter name of the highest note in the melody. And the highest note in the melody is the very first note, which Owen is suggesting is an E, and he is correct. So it's an E. Okay, so we have full 15 marks on that question. Final page. How long have we been going up till now? Can't actually see the timer on here, but it seems, oh, it's over an hour. Good. Right, so that's how long it should take. It's a 2-hour paper, and we're going to be going for an hour and maybe another 5 minutes to finish it off. So there's plenty of time to revise afterwards, isn't it? Okay. Now, indicate suitable progressions for 2 cadences in the following melody by writing 1, 2, 4, and 5 in the boxes underneath the stave. Use 1 chord per box. And you don't need to write like 1C or 1B, just the basic triads. Okay? Like last time, do you remember when I wrote out that little table of primary triads? It's a good idea to do it for this one as well. So we're in G major by the seams of things. We've got an F sharp key signature. There are no raised sevenths anywhere, so it's not a minor key, and it finishes on a G. We're in G major. So let's just put that there. Just bring the sheet down a little bit so you can see it. Now, the primary triads 1, 2, 4, and 5. Chord 1 in G major, G, B, D. Chord 2, A, C, E. Chord 4. Take some time to do this in the exam. You've got loads of time, and it'll be really helpful on your scrap paper, not on the sheet itself. But it's just easier for the video if I do it on the sheet. Okay, chord 4 is C, E, G. And chord 5, D, F sharp, but that's the key signature, will take care of that anyway, and an A. Now, let's look at the notes we've got. In this bracket here, we've got E's and C's. So that could be 2, or it could be 4. All right, and then the last one is a G and a D. Now there's only one possibility there. That's this one here, G and a D. So that's chord 1. So we can just put that one in straight away. What's more likely to come in front of chord 1 at a cadence point? Chord 4. Have you heard of a cadence 2 to 1? Or have you heard of a cadence 4 to 1? Yeah? George is saying 4 is better. Okay. 4 is better because there is no such cadence. A cadence is like a close of a phrase, and we have some set progressions, okay? There's the perfect cadence, which is 5 to 1. There's the imperfect cadence, which is anything like 1, 2, or 4 to 5. That's a little bit sort of ambiguous, that one. But eliminating the things that don't work will make it clearer. Then you could have an interrupted cadence, 5 to 6. And then finally, there's the plagal cadence, which is 4 to 1. Now, you just got to memorize the options. And if you haven't got any of those options, maybe try and change the chord. So you haven't got a 2 to 1 in there, have you? So that's not going to be 2. It's going to be 4. Although chord 2 would fit, it wouldn't make a cadence. All right? Let's look at the next one. Now in this, we've got something called passing notes. All right? So I would suggest to you that this note and this note are passing notes. They're not part of the harmony. They just pass from harmony note to next harmony note. These are the harmony notes, A, C, and E. And there we are. That looks like chord 2 to me. And the B and the D are just passing between the harmony notes. So that's chord 2. All right? I'm just checking on the chat, seeing if there is... yeah. Right, I think everything's cleared up on the chat there. Right, now, then we have F sharp and D. And there's only one option available there. That's got to be chord 5. And then 2 Gs, well, obviously we could have chord 1 or chord 4. But that's just silly. You don't have a cadence called 5 to 4. It doesn't exist in this list of optional cadences, all right? So that is chord 1. Nice, perfect cadence. All right, so We have 10 points there. And collectively, if we go back to the first page, I'll just bring it over. I think we just need to write for ourselves a nice big 100%. And I want some of you to come back to this video after you've done your theory exams and let me know, and maybe even on our community tab on our WhatsApp group or something like that, you could post a photograph of your 100% at grade 5 theory. Now, there was someone, my piano favourites, who was asking, let's put a blank sheet in front and see if we can find that question there. Ah, there's my mouse. I'm going to have to scroll back a little bit. Okay, 81% is a merit, George. Well done. I'm just trying to look back for my piano favourites. Right, now, my piano favourites is asking, would like to discuss the previous question on compound conversion of time signatures. He's saying composers have a choice for compound conversion to choose the note value as minim, crotchets, semiquavers, etc. Yeah, right. So, when you have that question wherever it was, it's a good point really. When you have to change something from a compound time to a simple time. I'm trying to find the question. Where was it? Ah, yeah. No, that's double the value, that one. Not that question. There it is, this question here. Okay, now, if you look at this one here, it's 12/8 time. And in the original, which would be page 4, it was in 4/4 time. Okay. Can you see those two options there? So why does the composer choose 4/4 or 12/8? What makes him decide on one particular time signature or a different time signature? And basically, Jester, well done, you got 98%. Well done. Okay, going back to my piano favourites question. Now, in 4/4 time, the basic feel of the piece would not be, how can I say, triplets, all right, in 4/4 time. If you've got a majority of triplets, now you've got quite a few triplets. You've got triplets there, you've got triplets there, and triplets there and there, okay? If that were more prevalent throughout the whole piece, then I think the composer would have chosen 12/8 time. However, more often than not, it's more of a duplet beat. Dum, dum, da, da, dum. Yeah? And that, not dum, dum, dee, da, dum, da, 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 dum, da, da, dum. Okay, that would be 12/8. But dum, dum, da, da, dum is more of a march type. Yeah, it says alla marzia, doesn't it? And it gives it a more sort of a 1/2, 1/2, 1/2 march time feel to it. So you would choose a simple time signature. If you want more of a lilting feel, yeah, da 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 dee dum, that sort of feel to it, where it just rocks a little bit, then you would choose a compound time signature because the beat is based in triplets. So the overall mood and the feel of the music would make a difference as to what time signature you chose. Okay, so hopefully that's been helpful in answering your question. If it doesn't answer your question completely, my piano favourites, leave me a comment in the description below and maybe I could go into it a little bit more detail with you later on, okay? But for those of you who participated, thank you very much. You've made this a very successful live stream and a very enjoyable one as well. We've helped each other and some of you have actually helped me. Noticed a couple of little things. Some of you distracted me, so I made mistakes by being distracted, but that's all part of the fun of live stream. All right. And I think next week, I'll probably be doing a live stream on oral training. So hopefully I can join you all then. All right. So thank you very much for your participation, as I said, and I'll see you all soon. Okay, how do I stop?